Stocks versus real estate, apples to apples, an actual comparison. I see people talk about the pros and cons of one person going for stocks, one person going for real estate, and we usually hear what their experience has been like. I want to talk about historical norms over a long enough period of time. If you actually compared stocks to real estate, what would that look like? And I want to be as impartial as possible. The most important thing when it comes to investing is that you invest in something that excites you. You're more likely to stick to a plan that you're emotionally invested in, because when you invest, whether it's stocks, business, crypto, real estate, a relationship, there's going to be challenges, and you want to make it something that excites you so that when you hit those challenges, you continue through. Because while real estate is fairly simple, it's not complex, it isn't easy. I chose real estate, so some of this video might sound like I prefer real estate, but again, apples to apples. I'm actually going to try to give some concessions towards stocks. Stocks takes less. You don't have to manage a property manager. You don't have to find the properties. You can actually buy index stocks, have a well-diversified portfolio that somebody else manages. So over a long enough timeline, stocks generally return 10% per year. I'm actually going to ignore years like the last couple where the stock market plays vertical pong and a lot of stocks are down 20 to 40%. But if you're talking 5, 10, 15-year horizons, an average 10% return is reasonable. And I think there is historical data to back that up. With real estate, I've been investing since around 2011 in an uptrending market, and I have fairly easily been able to find 10% or better cash on cash return on investing in a rental property. But like I said, I'm going to try to give some credit to stocks, and I'm actually going to cut my return in half with real estate. Let's say I can't find those properties that get a 10% return because prices are still high. We're all hoping for a crash, maybe not flippers. Rates are high, rents haven't caught up. So finding that 10% yield doesn't seem as easy as it was a couple of years ago. I will acquiesce to that. That's actually the wrong word. I will take that out of the video, but not today. I will concede that it is hard to find that 10% return. So let's cut it in half and say I can only get a 5% cash on cash return in real estate. Now, the goal when you invest in rental properties is that you learn what the area average return is, and then you try to beat it. So in my market, that was 7 or 8%. So I tried for 10s. If right now all you can find is 3 or 4% cash on cash, most of your deals are probably going to lose money. But if you can find some that would get you that, hunt for the 5. So let's say you get a 5% return in real estate. We're going to use a nice round number and say you have $100,000 that you're going to put into stocks or into a rental. In both cases, this is just the investment. You still have reserves, you still have your retirement accounts, you still have your income. All of those things are out of this equation. We're literally going to look at if you got a 10% return on stocks and you put $100,000 in, you would make in the first year $10,000. But how do you make it? You have to sell the stocks or invest in dividends. And whenever the dividend pays out, generally the stock value goes down the same amount. So either way, you're going to benefit by about $10,000, only 10% annualized return that is then taxed. So 10%, you make $10,000. The same $100,000 purchasing a duplex as a rental property that gets a 5% cash on cash return. Now, every time so far, I've gotten 10% or better first year. Usually by year 3, it's around 20% cash on cash return because rents go up, mortgages basically stay the same. Again, I sound like I like real estate better, but that's just been my experience. I'm going to try to use apples to apples comparison of a 10% return in stocks and a 5% cash on cash return in real estate. So if we put $100,000 into stocks and you get a 10% return, it's $10,000 that's taxed. In real estate, you're going to get a 5% cash on cash return, which is $5,000. So it's half what you would get with stocks. But because of depreciation and write-offs, you're not going to pay any taxes on that. So again, in this situation, stocks looks better. Takes less time to manage. You don't have to manage a property manager. You don't have to deal with tenants, toilets, or termites. So there are some reasons why stocks might be more attractive. But here is the next step that I don't hear people talk about when they go stocks versus real estate. Appreciation. The 10% gain in stocks is basically appreciation. The stocks appreciate. They become worth more money over time. That's where you get that 10% return. And we're stretching it out over a long enough timeline to not worry about the years like this one where you're down 20 to 40%. We're 10% up consistently year over year in appreciation. With real estate, you're also going to get appreciation, but it's not 10%. On average, over a long enough historical norm, real estate appreciates about 5% per year. So again, half what you're going to get with stocks in appreciation. But here's where leverage comes in. Now, with stocks, you can use margin, but it can be called. So it's not something that I would recommend. It's a bit of a risky strategy that you might use on a very small portion of your portfolio, but not on the whole 100,000 if that's what you had to invest. When you invest $100,000 into real estate, you're going to put 25% down on a rental. If you're house hacking, it can be as little as 0 down or 3.5% down or 3% down conventional. So you have some lower down payment options, but I'm trying to go apples to apples and not make real estate look phenomenally amazing by saying infinite return, right? We're going to go 25% down. You put $100,000 down as the down payment onto a $400,000 duplex, which is what they were costing in my market about a year ago. 2018, they were $300,000. Now they're $550,000, $575,000. So the prices are going up. Like I said, that's why it's harder to find that 10% return. Still possible, just harder. So I went with 5% cash on cash return. But now you get appreciation of only 5% in real estate compared to the 10% in stock. So it's half. But it's not just on the $100,000 that you put into the property. The bank doesn't get the appreciation. The owner of the property does on the full value of the property. So it was $400,000. And if it appreciates 5%, 5% of $400,000 is $20,000. You made $5,000 in cash flow, in cash that you can spend, save, or invest. You gained $20,000 in appreciation over a long enough timeline. We're averaging out to 5%. We're going to ignore that for the last 2 years in my market, we've had 24% appreciation. And if you go a little north into Seattle, it was 31%. And right now, with the big, massive real estate crash we have going on, my market of Tacoma, Washington is only up 7% from last year. We're stretching this out over time and saying it's only going to be 5%, even though the last 3 years have not been that. The last 3 years have made me multi-millionaire from millionaire in 2020. So appreciation doesn't suck, but with just a 5% appreciation, that's 20,000 plus your 5,000 in cash flow. And then since we're using debt that someone else pays off on a rental property, in the beginning, it's around 1% per month that gets paid off as far as your principal pay down goes and so you're going to be gaining in that year something like $4,000 written off of your taxes. On a $400,000 duplex, my principal pay down is somewhere between $350, $420 a month times the year, gives you about 1% of the value of the mortgage, of the value of the property, not just the mortgage. So with stocks, you got 10% return that is then taxed. With real estate, you got a 5% cash on cash return, 20% appreciation because it's a multiple of your investment by 4, and then 1%. So we're at a 26% internal rate of return on an average year stretched out over a long enough period of time versus a 10%. I started this with, I totally get it. You want to invest in something that excites you. If stocks excite you, don't invest in real estate. I suggest everybody owns a house. And then most people should house hack, right? So if you're not going to invest in real estate and have rentals, I would at least find some form of house hacking. Don't go anywhere in the live stream. I was making a video to pull this out and make a shorter video later. I'm going to be wrapping this up with an outro, but don't leave. Don't go anywhere. And so it's a random midday live stream. So for those of you in Futureland watching this shorter video, I hope this video at least made you think that you're comparing a 10% averaged return in stocks versus a 26% return averaged over a long enough timeline with real estate. Yes, it does take more time, energy, and effort to manage a property manager or to deal with tenants. I actually prefer to self-manage. I hope this video at least made you think. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk. Howdy, everybody. Thank you for putting up with the live stream that died and the Wi-Fi that wouldn't work, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. My computer seemed to have a meltdown about 3 different ways when I was trying to get this live stream together. This is actually kind of a test. I'm north of Ocean Shores in Washington, kind of middle of nowhere. The Wi-Fi here seems to be working. Let me know if it's laggy or anything. I can't really tell. I couldn't find it on my phone because I was having so many issues here. I'm going to answer questions if there are any in the chat. This was really because I have the BiggerPockets boot camp coming up this week too, and a live stream with Lumberjack. So I was deciding if I was going to stay at the same hotel for a long enough period of time, or for the rest of the week, or if I was going to have to go find somewhere else. I see that Dave popped off with the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. To buy a bucket and shovel to build some beachside real estate. Yes. I think the last time I was here, I took some pictures of what I thought would be a great burb project because somebody had made like a wooden teepee on the beach. How's everybody doing? Do you have any real estate questions for me while I'm here? You actually have me. I'm all yours for a bit before I go out and find a place to eat, because I'm not going to cook in. I don't cook in when I'm at home. I wish I knew about stocks, but I know more about electrical, HVAC, and termites. Nice. I wish I knew more about stocks too. There's a point where people talk about diversification to protect your wealth, right? I agree with Charlie Munger. I don't think you should diversify to grow wealth, because if you're chasing too many rabbits, you're going to starve, right? But if you focused on one asset class and you master it, kind of like I feel like I mastered buy and hold, long-term, small multifamily rentals. Like there's a whole bunch of other real estate stuff that I haven't mastered, but that's my niche. Once you're wealthy, yes, it would be nice to learn something about stocks and maybe invest into something else. I'm not there yet. Net worth is a little over 3 million. I think when it passes 5 or maybe 10 million, I'll probably go buy some stocks, but not today. Rob, howdy. Stocks have high volatility, high complexity. Real estate is low volatility. It is very low volatility. Its prices are very sticky. Even the real estate crash of 2008 took 3 or 4 years for it to happen, where we don't go March 22nd, 2020, the stock market dropped 30% or whatever date it was. It was in March in 2020, the world shut down. So stocks did. Real estate can go down, but it takes a bit more time. Can go up, takes more time. You can, some stock pickers will make a ton of money picking the right stock at the right time. The majority will lose money trying to pick stocks. The Yoder, howdy. Monica says, please don't forget to press the like button. Cool. All right. So no midday live random questions. It seems like the Wi-Fi is working after my freak out earlier, where my computer almost found out what salt water is like. I will be doing a live stream, I suppose, Friday morning with the Lumberjack landlord, and I have a video coming out tomorrow. So thank you all for hanging out with me during this test. I hope that my information let me know what you think. The stocks versus real estate. I tried to be as impartial as possible. Give it a 10%, even though this year's kind of crazy. And half, cut my cash on cash return in half. Oh, that was the one thing I forgot to put in there. I will edit this into the video. And I want you guys to hear it since you're here hanging out with me. This is the thing I forgot. Where's Mike? He can't be working. Mike never works. Actually, he's probably off today. I probably should have invited him. I'm going to record this one more time. So the idea is, if you can get a 10% return with a stock investment, and most people can invest in stocks and in about 30 years have invested enough to retire comfortably, $1 million, couple million, several $1 million, to where you can use the 4% rule and retire comfortably. If I cut my cash on cash return in half of what I've actually been able to get down to 5%, and I can get that 26% actual internal rate of return consistently over a long enough period of time, since it's almost 3 times the return, I would say that the amount of time it takes to retire is about 1/3 the timeline, which is why I do actually believe that the average individual can reach financial freedom and make work completely optional in 10 years or less. There. I hate my memory sometimes. Amafit, I am going to check that out today. It would be yesterday's rental income podcast talking about the binder reference. That will be something cool to do. Dividend Dave, does Dion skinny dipping lower property values? It depends on the neighborhood you're in. Ninja Vanish, I plan to contribute to my son's Roth IRA when he's old enough to get a job. Nice. Good. So it never hurts to do good things for your kids. I think, you don't want them to inherit millions that can ruin some people. But I think the most important thing that we can do for our kids is to take care of our personal finances so we don't become a financial burden to them when we're too old to work. Monica, do you know any investors that invest in Mexico? Playa del Carmen, Tulum? No, I don't. I know somebody who is planning on it. My friend Dan that was on, his spouse is from Mexico, and they're going to be investing in, I believe, something like a beach Airbnb that they use themselves as well. So that would definitely be something, a question for me to ask Dan, because that is their plan. I've talked about it several times. And now that he retired August of last year, he's probably working on when to do that. The Yoder, how can I stop people from Washington buying real estate in my market? A lot of people in Washington, Oregon, California vote a certain way and then move out of the state because of the laws that voting that certain way put in place. Ruin your state, vote that way until your state sucks as much as Washington does, and then they'll stop moving there. I don't think that's worth doing that. Kind of like right now, Washington State is it's passed the House. I need to see if it's passed the Senate. They're putting in rent control. I almost, as a human, want to go and testify and say, look, here's how you're damaging your tenants. You're going to have owners like my brother who hasn't raised rents in 10, 15 years. I would do 5% every other year. I have some tenants in place that I never raise the rent on. I have a single parent with some kids that I have an older couple that's on fixed income. I have some people that are just in these situations where I wouldn't raise their rent. But if you put rent control in place, then I have to do the maximum allowable every year, because if there's ever something that really increases my expenses, I'm going to have to fail because I won't be able to increase the rents to where I need them to be. That's just the first negative, is that rents will go up. Second, people will become homeless. Owners that can't raise the rent will kick tenants out, and it will be not renewing the lease. In some places that's legal. Here, what we can do is say, I have 60 days, I'm going to remodel, you have to get out. I have 90 days, I'm going to move in, you have to get out. There are ways to get people out, or you could say, I'm going to sell the property, you have to get out. And Seattle lost 3,000 units when they thought of putting in rent control. So as a decent human, I want to go and testify that rent control would be a really bad thing for the tenants. But I'm also lazy, so I'm probably not going to go testify. And then on the other end of that, I'm a landlord that's going to make 3 times as much money as I was going to now that rent control goes into play. So I'm very selfishly thinking I shouldn't testify because it really benefits me, but it's going to harm so many people. Those are the laws people are voting in that make them move to places like yours. Have people vote stupid things in there, and then nobody's going to want to move there either. Yeah, New York is the same. That's lots of issues there. Rob, every time I suggest investing in Brazil real estate, my wife hits me. There is Michael Jewell, who watches the channel sometimes, I think, and lives in Brazil, but invests in the US. I think currently he's actually in the US. All right. This seems to be working. I think I will stay here for the rest of the week. I should testify about making more money. Go out there and say, absolutely do this. It's going to make me rich as an owner. That would probably be the fastest way to get some renters to actually open their eyes and go, oh, this is really going to hurt us. Because most people think, I watched Friends, and Monica had a room that she was paying $700 a month on because her aunt lived there 30 years ago. So she was committing fraud because she wasn't her aunt. And, that rent control would keep the rents down. So they not taking a deep look at it makes it sound like it would benefit me, right? My rents won't go up, but they will go up the maximum allowable amount every year. If they wouldn't, it would be cheaper to rent in California than it is somewhere else right now. but rent control has forced rents to go up the maximum allowable amount every single year. Arizona is purple. Yeah, the people who owned the school that I worked at moved out of Washington because of the politics, moved to Arizona. And now they moved to Florida because they got out of the Arizona politics. That last election was interesting. Where is here? Here is north of Ocean Shores, Washington. And talking politics is the easiest way to get your channel shadow banned. Ask Todd Baldwin. Laura, the rental income podcast Tom Fit is talking about is episode 406. Thank you. Give you a tour of where I would. I'm not alone, so I can't do that right now. I can show you outside. Let me see if I can do this without killing the camera or catching a reflection in the mirror, because let's see. A tour of where I'm at. First, it's a huge, massive something suite. And I don't know that I've been out here yet. And I don't know how the sound is going to be because of wind. And you really can't see because of the light. But I'm just along the coast on the ocean. In Washington, we go to the ocean in the summer just as much as we do in the winter, because even in the summer, you tend to not swim here. All right. Thank you all very much. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk. You can come out now.